Way back, and once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear, sweet old granny. I had a terrible season cold, and I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Have you ever read or watched something on the media and thought, that's crazy, that had to be made up? Well, news tellers like to stretch the truth a little bit to make the story more interesting. This is The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by John Siska. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too smart either. He built his house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build his house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake. That's when I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe this, but the guy's house fell down, and there in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time, and it seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think about a cheeseburger just lying there. I was getting awfully full, but I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake, so I went to the next house. This guy was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the steakhouse. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, Wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob, and I felt another sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. And get this, the guy's house fell down just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there's a second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but I still didn't have that cup of sugar. So on to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf, don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even offer me one little cup for my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of cake. That's when I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. Then the third little pig yelled, and your granny can sit on a pen. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow. But when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. So, of course, when the cops showed up, I was trying to break down this pig's door. And the whole time, I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner, and they figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very interesting. So they jazzed the story up with all that huff and puff and blow your house down. And they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But maybe you can loan me a cup of sugar? Thank you.